Morning everyone, we're just leaving the Pelion Hut, or new Pelion Hut, and today we'll be going up Mt Ossa, so we'll see how we go. Basically we've got a climb of nearly 300 metres over about 4 kilometres to get to Pelion Gap, and from there there's two forks. You can go to Mount Pelion East, which is a couple hundred metres shorter than Ossa, or you can do what we're doing, which is go up Mt Ossa, and that's about a 5k detour, and then we got another 4 kilometres down to Kia Ora Hut, so about 13 kilometres in total and probably about 800 metres of climbing. So it should be a fairly intense day, but not super long. Initially going through this really nice rainforest stuff. Douglas Creek's just in there, and we'll be hiking along it most of the way up. Certainly lucked out on the weather front. As you can see, it's completely blue and perfect out. Being the highest mountain in Tasmania, obviously Ossa is frequently covered in cloud, so we've probably got the best day of the trip today, which is really ideal. Vegetation's opened up a bit. Don't think we're too far actually from a detour down to a cascade on Douglas Creek, although I don't think I'll bother to do it this time because the creek's pretty low. So we've arrived at the short detour to Douglas Cascades. Only a minute or two's walk down here. So this is Douglas Cascades. As you can see, it's definitely more of a winter waterfall when it will cover that whole sheet of rock there, but it's still a nice spot. I'm pretty sure there's actually two creeks converging here as well, which is a bit unusual. View through the trees of where we're going to be in a couple of hours. Pretty imposing, Mt Ossa. And that sort of rounded dome to the left is Pelion East. The peak of it, I think, is just out of view at the moment. Coming into Pelion Gap, some amazing views around the range. So that's Ossa up there in the centre, and the peak to the right is Mount Doris. Pelion East is through there. I think that might even be like Cradle through there, I'm not sure. But we've got about another 600 metres of climbing, or 500 metres of climbing to get up to the summit of Ossa. And we'll probably dump the big packs here, I reckon. Pretty impressive vantage point. The peak right straight ahead there in the shadow, that's Cathedral Mountain. And then the big valley in there is the Mersey, where all the waterfalls are. And that's Pelion East over there, obviously. You can see down to the platform at Pelion Gap, so we've climbed a fair ways up already actually, but it's been really nice just on these sort of stairs, not too difficult at all yet. There's Ossa up ahead now. Not sure if it'll show up on the camera, but I can see the track winding the way up towards the summit of Ossa there. Doris. Some pretty spectacular panoramas here. You got Mount Oakley, Cradle Mountain, Barn Bluff. I'm sure my finger's really going to be pointing in the right direction, but then there's Pelion West there. And those big peaks there aren't actually the summit of Mt Ossa, it's sort of behind a bit more, but the track goes between them. So onwards we go. As you can see, we've come a fair way up now since that saddle there. And the spires we were looking at before, well, one of them's just in front of us and one of them's just to the left. It's been pretty steep of late, but not incredibly difficult. Entering a fairly exposed section of the track. Fortunately it's not too windy. I don't think we're that far off the summit now, but it looks pretty steep up ahead. So I'm at a point where the track sort of looks like it goes up that way, but as these markers point, we have to go that way. It's much more safe, I think, because that's very, very steep in there. Kind of wedged in between those two big things I was looking at earlier. You can can see pretty much the entire length of the track. Not far off the top now. So I'm at the top of the climb through the crevice just there. It turns out there's actually still a fair ways to go to the summit. We've still got to go all the way up there, probably 50 metres or so further. It's nice views from here though already. Well, I've made it to the summit of Mt Ossa, the tallest peak in Tasmania. It's a pretty spectacular view. I'm sort of at the end of kind of a plateau. Further back there are more views out that way. I'll give you a nice sweep of this area. Countless mountains. And I'll head back over there to give you a bit more of a look out that way, because the views there were pretty spectacular too. But 1,617 metres up, the highest point in the state. Pretty cool. So we're entering the final stretch of track before we get back to the Pelion Gap, like platform kind of thing. As you can see, it's just up ahead there in Pelion East, now in the sunlight, which looks pretty nice. I think now we've got just under 4 kilometres to go, 3.5, 4 k's to get to Kia Ora Hut, and it should be easy enough. I think it's basically all downhill. And when I get there, I'm going to have a look for Kia Ora Falls, but I'll tell you more about that later. So I'll see you a bit further along, closer to the hut. Okay, so we made it to Kia Ora Hut. It's just through there, and we're now at Kia Ora Creek. And if we go down here, some nice little waterfalls to cool off in. I'm going to keep going downstream though to Kia Ora Falls proper, which is a few hundred metres further down. Well, after 10 minutes of pretty intense scrub bashing, I've hit some upper cascades in the Kia Ora Creek. Just down there is another waterfall. I don't think that's the proper Kia Ora Falls. I think that's the upper falls that sometimes get confused for the real thing. I think I've still got a couple hundred metres to go downstream to the real falls, but we'll see what this one looks like. Well, I've reached the waterfall commonly known as Kia Ora Falls, even though it's not actually Kia Ora Falls. It's about a 4-metre drop. It's nice enough. Would be better if it was spanning that whole cliff there, but pleasant spot. Now I'm going to keep going downstream to the actual falls, which hopefully is not too much further. But as you can see, the scrub is really thick still. Another little 2-tiered cascade on Kia Ora Creek. This one's especially nice because it's got a nice view of Mount Massive in the background. I think it's Mount Massive at least. With any luck from here, I can actually just walk downstream. It looks a little friendlier and wider through here. Well, I've made it to the last spot for today, Kia Ora Falls. It's a few hundred metres walk below the hut, although it has been an extremely difficult walk through scrub and button grass and all sorts of stuff. Now I'm here though. It's a really nice spot. Obviously it would have a lot more water in winter, but for January I reckon there's a pretty good flow. There are a lot of mosquitoes around here unfortunately, so I'm not sure I'll linger too long because I'm getting a bit chomped, but I'll take some photos. That'll be just about it for today's video though, I think. I mean, it's been ultimately a very successful day. We made it up Mt Ossa, and now I've made it to this waterfall at the end of it. We ended up hiking about 13 k's, but it felt a lot longer than that because of the amount of climbing. Anyway, tomorrow we'll be leaving the overland track and heading through the Never Never to Junction Lake Hut, I should say. So that should be a pretty involved and difficult day, but we'll see how we go. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.